I'd love to surprise you with that. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me and my very special guest, who you know from such shows as Waitress, Beautiful, and Carousel. Please say hello to Tony Award winner, Jessie Mueller.
Hello.
Hey, Jessie, how incredible was that of you watching yourself on a clear day?
That was wild. I haven't seen that in a long time. So I'm going, do we play? What? No, where are we going for? Oh, we're going, okay.
That was absolutely flawless. Do you like to watch yourself? I talk to so many stars who I don't listen to my albums. I don't listen to, I don't like to really watch clips because all they do is nitpick at what should have been done.
Yeah. I have an easier time listening to myself actually than I do watching myself. Listening to myself sing, listening to myself talk is a whole different thing.
Well, listen, the last time you were with me was just this past April when we were celebrating the 75th anniversary of Carousel. That was such a thrilling time to have you and your co-star Josh Henry and, of course, Ted Chapin from the R&H organization.
That was such a lovely afternoon. Doesn't that seem like such a long time ago, though?
You know, when I realized it was April, I was like, wait a minute, it seemed like 6 months ago.
It was like a different era of quarantine, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, do you know we've just done 100 days of quarantine?
Wow. I haven't learned enough yet. I feel like I should have learned more in 100 days, but.
I was going to ask you, since I saw you in April, how are you? What have you been up to?
I feel like probably not a ton has changed in my daily life.
Yeah.
But in terms of the physical day-to-day, but in terms of the outward awareness of what's going on and the psychological effect, deepening exploration of what's going on, that continues. Just talking to my siblings last night, we were having a virtual game night, and we were all talking about what we're experiencing and what we're reading. And man, we are in a moment. We are really in a moment. And I think, it's maybe too far of a stretch to say it's necessary, but because nobody wants hurt or pain or sickness or mistreatment. But it's like we needed to wake up as a society. And I guess if this is how it's going to happen, then we have to embrace this moment that we have to be better, to change, to treat each other better, to take care of our planet. I mean, I could go on, but it's just been mostly that and a lot of pajamas. I mean, how about you?
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, luckily I get to work from home, so I actually get to get up and put a shirt on and set up a light or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's been really interesting because when this all first started, I was I couldn't get my footing right away because I was trying to wrap my head around all of this. And
sure.
For you were in previews for the Tracy Letts play, The Minutes. I mean, you were going to open just a few days later, but your sister Abby was supposed to actually open on March 12th.
That night. Yeah, she was supposed to open the night. It was maybe at 6 o'clock that night or something. And the Broadway shutdown was official at something like 3:30 or 4 p.m., wasn't it? Yeah, that was a crazy day. She handled it like a champ.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because it was like a double whammy for your family. What was that day like for you? I mean, knowing that you weren't going on that night, and you probably weren't going to open a few days later, and then your sister was all ready to get dressed and go to the theater with, opening night.
Right, like half a lash on and yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. Our folks had actually come into town, and we had a big conversation with them because we were all sort of still getting, like you said, getting our footing with what's really going on and what's going on medically, and how safe is everyone? Is it safe for them to fly? Should they drive if they're going to come out here? Because they were going to come see. Abby was supposed to open on Thursday.
Yeah.
They were going to see my brother Matt and Harry Potter on Saturday because he closed the end of his contract on Sunday, and I was supposed to open on Sunday. Or maybe they were going to see me on Saturday, him on Sunday. I can't remember now, but
yeah.
So they decided to drive out. So that weekend ended up being, there were a lot of phone calls between the family of where's everybody? How's everybody doing? What do people need? And then trying to find safe ways to to get together and connect. But I mean, I feel like we were very much still finding our footing, scrambling to figure out like what was really going on, what information we were taking in. We wanted to be super safe. We didn't want our parents to go back. They live in the Midwest, to bring any sort of, New York contagion with them. Nobody knew if we were just asymptomatic. So it was an interesting weekend, but it ended up being a really lovely time for all of us to gather. We did end up getting together for a meal. Nobody saw shows that weekend, but we were all together, which was great.
What I think is great about now is even with, StreamYard or, this virtual thing, I think people are really connecting with family members again. And just like you and I, we're sitting here so intense of focusing. I think our focus has shifted because of this, of just really staying present and being in the moment and not worrying about what's really happening, a month or two down the road, because no one really knows.
Isn't it such a practice in that? It is. It's right. It's hard enough to do that anyway, and it does take practice. And now it's sort of like we're forced into it. Yeah. And I totally agree with you. It's such a moment to practice that living in the moment. Which in some ways I do think that like people sort of in our industry at times we are more practiced in that, because that's kind of how we've had to live our lives. We know that our jobs only last 2 months or maybe a week, or maybe like we never know. So we're always going moment to moment to moment. And that's also as actors usually how we practice our craft. But this is a whole other masterclass, ain't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, I want to get into this weekend because tomorrow, Sunday, June 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with a repeat on Monday, June 22nd at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will be joining Seth Rudetsky for his virtual Seth Concert Series for producer Mark Cortali. What can you tell us? What can fans expect?
Two of the nicest guys in show business.
Totally.
Well, live from the living rooms, kids. Seth is going to be in his living room. I'm going to be in this living room. And I think the thing that's most excited about it is they've got a great tech team behind this, and they've found out a way. So we're actually singing and playing live together. I mean, talk about figuring out. It's like we're using the sound from this platform and the doo-wah-diddy from this platform and the camera over here. And so knock on wood, technological, gods are smiling down on us. That's what's going to happen. And it's so fun as a performer I think a lot of us have gotten used to, there's been so many great ways that everyone is connecting and putting content out there, but it's a lot of like, here, I'll record the track and you listen into your ear while you look in this camera and listen to the thing here, but then I'll get your sound and we'll get the thing. And this is actually happening live. So as a performer, it's so fun because it feels like the real thing, baby. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of getting back to what we all really love about it. Because like you said, it's so great that we can connect, that we can have this virtual connection and this energy but don't you feel like at the end of the day, you're kind of like, I'm so tired because you've been trying to like give everyone your energy through this tiny little doot on your computer screen. And it's like, you can't really take somebody and you're trying, but so this is going to be really fun. And I look forward to the chance just to sing and play with Seth again. It's always fun. He always, delights and terrifies me with something I'm not prepared for. And, that makes for good theater.
Well, I'm sure if anybody can find a clip of you from a high school show, it's going to be Seth.
I was going to say, somehow.
I don't know where he finds it. So have you been rehearsing with him? Like, are you just Zooming each other and like, what's happening? Yeah,
there's been a lot of sound checks because of all this technological stuff that has to go on. Yeah. I mean, there's like Ethernet connections involved. Like we're going back in the day. It's pretty funny. So that's been the biggest thing. It's like, I hear you. Can you hear me? It's mostly that. It's a lot of material that we've done in his concert series before. So anybody that's seen the shows before, it'll be really fun because you kind of know the layout. It's a little like a concert. It's a little like you're hanging out with us in the living room. We're at the bar and we're telling stories. So I did say that the other day. I was like, I could have a drink if I wanted to during this concert. I mean, what's anybody going to do? I could have a martini off camera. No one would know.
We'll know what you're having. Well, of course,
till I start getting really loose-lipped and saying all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh. Are you going to sing from all your favorite shows? I mean, all the big shows you've done?
Well, that would be funny if I just sang from all my favorite shows, but none of the shows I've done, just all my favorite shows, parts I would never be allowed to play. No, I'm trying to think if there will be any of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still getting the whole set list together. So, I mean, anything could happen. Truly.
I love this. What are you going to wear? Have you decided on an outfit?
No, but I do have an idea that it's like, do I put it out there? So I have this idea
Yeah.
that I could do like paper doll costume changes if I cut out outfits and put them on a popsicle stick and hold them close enough to the camera. What do you think?
Oh, I think that's great.
Should I try it?
Yeah, try it. This is a whole new
Okay, I'm gonna
world,
try it.
right? Oh, I
I'm
think
going
you
to
should
try it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to start a trend.
So
We'll
after
see
we get
if it
off,
works.
after we do this today, when you do your at-home rehearsal, you can do your pop sticks and your paper doll outfit.
Yeah, I'll try it out. Because I got to put it in the right spot, right? You got to
Yeah.
I think I'd have to get it really close to the camera. And then try to figure out, like, am I going to have to, like, put some of my neck in there or shoulder? It'll be a whole thing. I'll have to have a fitting.
Well, I know where I'm going to be on Sunday night. So listen, what do you love the most about doing concerts in general?
I mean, it sounds so dippy, but like, I love to sing. It feels, I think physiologically it does something to me. But I more than that, I like working with musicians. It's kind of like, I don't want to go out and do monologues. I want to play with other people. I want to do scenes. So with singing, I like to feel a connection with the other performers. And I think that's what I love about doing the shows with Seth, is like, it's just the connection between us is fun, and it's so back and forth that it's so collaborative. And I miss live audiences. So it's a treat for me, because I feel like this is as close as I can get to feeling like I'm sharing energy with people and people are sharing energy with me. So.
Sure. Well, the Seth Concert Series is sponsored by BroadwayWorld and StreamYard, and tickets can be purchased at www.thesethconcertseries.com for only $25. Like I said, I know where I'm going to be Sunday night at 8 o'clock, and then again on Monday at 3 p.m. You know, the Minutes was supposed to open, we started talking about this on March 15th. Have you been staying connected with the cast?
Oh yeah, we've been doing sort of like check-ins and sometimes line throughs, which usually starts like, we're going to do a line through, and then we all just chat for a long time. But we've been saying that we're going to try to get it to like we were doing it every couple of weeks, at least get it to like a monthly thing, because we were supposed to open on the 15th. So we thought, well, what if we just got together every 15th, like the Ides of whatever month it is, and then just try to remember our lines, because we just miss each other.
Yeah.
So
have you run the show completely on these live streams? You're like, no, forget it. We'll run a few lines and tell me how you're doing.
Oh no, we have run the whole show.
Yeah.
Because the beauty of it too is that we sit a lot during the show. So it's not like, oh, but we can't do the big dance number. You know what I mean? Like, there's no big dance number. So we really can sit there and approximate most of the show, which is kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I love it. Well, I was fortunate enough to see the show during previews, and I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Like I said, I love Tracy Letts. I love Anna DiShapiro. I love this cast. I mean, for you, how wonderful was it working on a play as opposed to a musical? Because this was your first play.
Yeah, well, so my first play since I've been in New York.
Yeah.
I loved it. The time that you get to really delve into things, the time you get to talk about characters and relationships, because you're on a similar time frame for your rehearsal period, but it's not that there's less to do. There's just, I would say, less elements. There's also, like, you're working with just a director. You're not working with a director and a choreographer and a music director. You know what I mean? So it's like the time being shared between disciplines is not that energy is not in the room. So it's like, you can there are different places to devote the time. And I really loved that. And it was fun too, because there are several ensemble members in the cast too, the Steppenwolf ensemble and people that did the show in Chicago. So that's been really enlightening too, to like hear about their process, and they have the experience of doing it before and now doing it again with different people, and what that does and what that opens up. And I mean, even in the time since we pressed pause on the show, it's like the show has become more and more timely.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that makes sense to you because you've seen it. For those that haven't seen it, like I won't give anything away, but it's just everything that we are being asked to look at and dig deep about right now, I feel like comes up during this play. And it meant a lot to me beforehand, but it means even more to me now because I think the play is a lot about like, let's look at things that make us uncomfortable because it's necessary.
Yeah. Is it different, or how different and how same is it creating a character for a play as opposed to a musical? I know we're taking out the songs out of it, but
Right.
is it different? I mean, is it a different muscle memory? I mean, different body language?
I don't know. Maybe it's different body language because you just know, like you say, body language. It's like you don't have the language of song. So all your language is in either words or behavior. And honestly, I don't have a ton of words in the play. So a lot of my language is in the behavior and in my reactions to other people. And sort of, I think, what my character represents in this sort of the like macrocosm of the bigger picture. Microcosm of the bigger picture, the macro of the microcosm. What would that be? I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know if it's that different. To me, there's a lot of similar. It's mostly the same stuff. It's like, well, where does my character come from, and what is their background, and what do they think about this, and how do they feel about this person, and how much do they want to be heard, and how much do they want to hide? It's like all those same questions, just like you said, sort of a different language to interpret it with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you admire the most about playwright Tracy Letts and your director Anna DiShapiro? I mean, what was it like working with them in the rehearsal room, and then of course with Tracy on stage?
Oh yeah. Well, Tracy is fascinating because I knew Tracy like a little bit before I started working with him because my partner Andy knows his wife Carrie. Yeah. They worked together years ago, and so it was just kind of fascinating to know him socially and then get in the room with him. And the biggest joke was he was like, wait, what hat do I have on right now? Is this my actor hat or my playwright hat? Like how, especially with Anna, I'd be like, how are you addressing me, as an actor or a playwright? Because, and then he would say like, wait, I'm saying this as an actor. I'm saying this as a playwright, because he had to like figure out which part of his brain he was using. I think as a playwright, he's kind of fearless. He's Tracy, don't take offense to this. Like he can be kind of intimidating just as a person. Like he's a tall guy. He's super intelligent, but he is so kind and loving. But to me, like his writing can be very dark and biting. So I think that's just a fascinating combination. Like to me, he is not afraid of looking at dark things, looking at uncomfortable things, and helping to kind of hold that mirror up to an audience. He just finds that stuff really interesting, I think. So I admire that in him as a playwright and a performer. And as far as Anna Shapiro, our director, man, I don't know if it comes from being a good mom or like, again, some of these people she's worked with before, but she really knows how to suss people out and like how to give them what they need, and knowing that everybody in the room might be different. And everybody might be working on sort of different timelines. And I find that I also don't find that she doesn't bring ego into the room. She'll be like, I don't know yet. I can't answer that question for you yet, but I might know in like 2 weeks once we figure this little bit of it out. Like she's not afraid to say, I don't have the answer to that. And she'll always say, I don't have the answer to that, and here's why. Like she knows that she's so smart, and also just creates such a comfortable feeling in the room where you really feel like you can come with questions, and even simple things like it was a cell phone free rehearsal space.
Yeah.
You couldn't have your cell phone you couldn't even check it on breaks. You had to go outside of the room. It was just a space that was like, it was just decided like, we won't have those distractions here. This is a sacred little zone.
That's great. I've always adored her. Tracy sat with me for 2 hours, and I love that man. I mean, like you said, when I was putting my interview together, I was like, oh my God, is he going to be intimidating? I mean, I knew him too, but he's the sweetest man and the smartest man in the room too.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those things. I just adore him.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, I want to go back to the beginning. Growing up, where did your love for theater first begin, and what were your earliest creative outlets?
Oh, so I grew up. I grew upside. I
Yeah.
grew outside of the city of Chicago, in Evanston, Illinois, and both of my parents are actors, so
Yeah.
I grew up going to theater. They were both doing a lot of musical theater at the time, and I grew up seeing a lot of theater in Chicago. I think the first show I ever went to, I was like 4. I mean, that's pretty tiny.
Yeah.
So, so that was my first. That was the first sort of exposure to it that I remember. But I always remember listening to music and being fascinated with music and singing all the time. But I didn't really start performing or trying into that really until high school. That's when I sort of got into theater.
Yeah.
Myself, you know.
Did you book your first professional job from an open call?
I did, actually. I did.
What was the show? Do you remember what the show was? And what
Oh
you
yeah,
sang?
it was Once Upon a Mattress at Drury Lane Oak Brook Theater in Oak Brook, Illinois, and yeah, I went to the Equity open call. I think I wasn't Equity yet. I just gotten out of college, and yeah, did I sing something from the show? I don't remember, but I got cast in the chorus, and yeah, and that was my first gig, and I loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in the room with all these people that I had seen in performing in Chicago theater, and
Yeah.
I just thought I was in heaven.
But I mean, cattle calls, I don't think they're ever going to come back. For people who don't know, an open call is a cattle call where there can be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people
I didn't
waiting
even
to
think
be
of that.
seen, right?
I didn't even think of that. You're right. When will that? So a lot of people, I think, would not miss it, but the opportunity that
Yeah.
affords is, yeah. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Well, you honed your craft those first few years in Chicago. What got you to New York?
I ended up auditioning for a project that was going to be mounted in New York. They were working on the revival of On a Clear Day, You Can See Forever, which was the clip you showed that was going to be a vehicle for Harry Connick Jr. And Jim Carnahan, the casting director, was coming through Chicago, casting the tour of American Idiot at the time. And so he had this other project on his plate. I still don't know how my name got on this list or how they got in touch with my agent or what happened, but I ended up going to that I guess it wasn't an open call. That would have been like an agent call or something. But so I showed up where everyone else was auditioning for American Idiot, and I was coming in for this other project. And I do remember that. Like I don't remember what I wore, but I'm sure it was some little dress and heels because I knew I was reading for a 1940s jazz singer, and everyone else was like with their guitars and their black nail polish and their eyeliner, even the guys. And I walked in and I was like, people think I'm in the wrong room. But yeah, and Jim Carnahan was so kind to me, and from that I kept going to callbacks, and then it was like they were doing a week-long reading, and then there was a month-long lab, and I was still based in Chicago at the time. And then I came and stayed with my best friend from high school for a month while we did the lab. I stayed on his floor in an air mattress, and then after that they offered me the part on Broadway. I mean, even saying it sounds weird. That's how that happened.
Because I remember when the show was in tech, I ran into your director, Michael Mayer, on the street. I'd always run into Michael on the street to catch up. And Michael would be like, Richie, wait until you see this Jessie Mueller. And I was like, oh, wow. He said, she's so brilliant. And then, of course, we all fell in love with you in the show.
Well, he took such a chance on me. So did all the producers and the whole Burton Layton family, and everybody really signed on and got behind me, and that, I don't take that for granted. That was a big risk, and Harry too. Harry was so instrumental, and he was behind me from day one, and rooting for me to get the part. So I'll always be grateful to him.
Yeah, because that was the first big time, a big Broadway musical, co-starring opposite Harry Connick Jr.
It's ridiculous.
Do you have a favorite memory of that time? Listen, I saw that show 6 times, just so you know.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And I love when you turned around on the bandstand, so I remember everything about that show. Favorite memory for you with that?
You know what? When you said that, backstage, I remember every night I had this cool entrance. My first entrance was from under the deck. I came up on a platform, and it was like, I had like a little, my character, she was a singer. So of course she was, a waitress moonlighting as a singer, you know what I mean? So I came up with this, I don't know, imaginary drink or something that I served to Harry. And I just remember like all the crew guys, we would always joke. There was always some little joke we would share back and forth before going up in the elevator. And my dresser, Del Miskey, was one of my dear friends now. I met her on that project, and she, oh my gosh, she was my angel. She walked me through that. She was like, here's how this worked. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never had a dresser just working with me before. I didn't know. She was like, I can buckle your shoes if you want. I was like, what? But they're my shoes. I was like, I can buckle my shoes. Just everybody backstage. It was such a fun.
Yeah.
It was just such a fun group, such a fun crew. I honestly, my mind flashes to those moments more than anything on stage.
Yeah, totally. It's always those backstage moments and the family you put together.
Yeah, you spend more of your time back there. You spend 2.5 on the stage every night. So,
you then got to play Cinderella in Central Park at the Delacorte Theater in the Public Theater's production of Into the Woods. I love to talk to people about when they get to do a show in Central Park at the Delacorte. How magical was that for you? You played Cinderella.
I got to talk to birds, and there were actually birds out there. Like I remember, once I finally learned how to kind of fly birds back to the sky, and then one night it was like they came, and I was like, yes. It was. I mean, and there were some weird nights where it was like there'd be weather. That's the other thing when you work at the Delacorte. Sometimes it almost feels very like in the best ways high school where you're all backstage like, are we doing the show tonight? The rain can't keep us down, but you really don't know whether you're going to get to do it or not. Again, just such a great company, and I remember we started the show. The set was so cool, and then the back of the set, like the turtle pond is right behind you, and the back of the set was this series of stairs, and we started the show. We like ran out, like I wish, we would crouch. We had to crouch on the stairs so they couldn't see us, and so we were all. It was like we were getting ready to go into battle or something. We're all kind of like crouched on the, like looking at each other, like, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" Waiting for Paul Giamatti to be like, and then we had to like run out and not fall down. There was lots of mulch involved. There were things in the mulch. I mean, it was magical.
The raccoon family. I'm sure you saw a lot of the raccoons.
There were some raccoons. There was some questionable smells coming from the mulch. That after a while we were like, I think this really needs to be investigated. I had to fall down in mulch a lot because I was playing Cinderella. She falls down. So we were just always, concerned about what we would discover.
Well, you were in the woods, really, into the woods.
We were literally in the woods. But it was magical to do a show that basically takes place outdoors. Actually, outdoors was very cool.
Yeah. You then got to do Roundabout's production of The Mystery of Edwin Drood. I love that musical too. And you got to do that dual role. Favorite memories of that?
Oh, just being stupid with Andy Carl. And one night where I think there was a dinner scene and Will Chase had like was it someone had given him like one of those little Dickens characters or something for opening, like they make, Charlotte Bronte and William Shakespeare and he'd put it in the bowl in his dish or something one night. And then somehow it started getting passed down. Kids, don't do this. I know we're professionals. It wasn't my fault. It was Will Chase's fault. And then every night it would be like, so once that started, then there would just be nights where somebody had the little glint in their eye, like they were going to start laughing. And then one night it got so bad that I totally broke on stage. I mean, it was not my finest moment. Let's just put it that way.
Who was the biggest cut up? Was it Will Chase?
No, the annoying thing about Will is that he would start it, but he was very hard to break. He was very hard to break. I don't remember who was the biggest cut up. We got it under control, but I mean, sort of the whole show was everyone trying to make everybody laugh, and then the whole ending is undetermined, and the audience picks the ending, so it was like you never really knew what was going to happen, so you were kind of primed for it. You had to be ready for that sort of thing.
That was a glorious production. I loved that production.
Thanks.
That was
We
really,
had fun.
really great. You know, you then received every conceivable award imaginable for your breathtaking performance as Carole King, the music icon in, Beautiful. What amazed me, how were you able to find her voice and her body and soul? Like, what unlocked her for you? Because, we all knew you, but then you turn around on that piano and it's not Jessie Mueller, it's Carole King.
Oh, well, thank you. Time and process. I don't know. I think that was one of those things. I look back now and I really had no idea what I was getting into. It probably was a terrible idea. You look at it from far away, and I one of the biggest blessings was I got to meet Carole. I got to learn about her as a musician and an artist, but also as a person. I think I just really felt like I had a connection to my perception of how she viewed the world and how she wanted to do her art and how she wanted to be of service, how she wanted to be a vessel, that it wasn't about her. That really resonated with me. And so I think I took joy in getting inside somebody that was able to use their gift in such a unique way, but never wanted to make it about themselves.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to do all the research and do all the listening and read all the books and find every video clip of her that I could and read what other people said about her. It just and then continue the crafting of all those real people that we were playing as characters together too, with Jared Spector and Anika Larson and finding those connections between each other that sort of created the dynamics between the characters, which helps to define who you are. You know what I mean? If any of those puzzle pieces had been different, my puzzle piece would have been different. So that was such a big part of it too.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's Jenna in the beautiful musical Waitress. I mean, what was it like living inside the music of Sarah Bareilles?
Oh, it was like caramel. It was like warm and sweet and gooey, and it just felt good, man. Her music, I think, it just feels good to be inside of. It's not that it's not easy to sing, actually. She has such an incredible voice, and she understandably writes from her voice, and she has sort of a freak voice where like she has no break. So it's not that it's easy. It's technically easy, but it feels good to get into once you figure it out. Like, it really was just such a joy to sing that stuff. It's still some of my favorite music to sing. I think what she did with that score was just incredible, especially when you think that was her first crack at a musical theater score. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
She's also one of the sweetest people in the world too. I got to speak with her a lot during this, and she was always so open and so wonderful and so appreciative. I love nice people who are talented.
Oh my gosh, right? And she was so. I had the same experience with her. I mean, you never really know what to expect. You have an experience, or I should say, you have a perception of someone who's like in the public eye, and or you're a fan of someone, and you really hope they just don't disappoint, because you love their music so much. And she was one of those people. Is one of those people where she is kind and she is considerate, and she was so she was so excited and game to be a part of the process, which I guess I was like pleasantly surprised by. I didn't really know. I think she had such an interest in how it all came together and wanting to be a part of that. Like, I feel there was rarely a day where she wasn't there in rehearsal. She wanted to be a part of this thing, and she was so game from day one, and kind of egoless in terms of if any of us were struggling with anything, she and I would have so many conversations about specifically like the key of She Used to Be Mine, one of the songs, and how many times she let me go back and forth, and our music director Nadia Leonardo about what key we should do it in and what feels comfy. And she was so generous with that kind of stuff. Yeah,
that was such a prop heavy show for you. I mean, and so much flour. I mean,
there was a lot of flour.
How did you not sneeze? I mean, I don't, because it was everywhere when you're singing and breathing in.
Well, the thing that happened actually during my time when I was in Waitresses, I discovered that I had a gluten allergy, a gluten sensitivity. I had probably been living with it for quite some time, but it was during that time that I actually figured it out. Yeah. So as I started to adjust my personal habits and my eating habits and things like that, I asked our prop guy if he could switch out the flour, because we ended up using flour. We tried all different kinds of things during rehearsal. Like, what should it be? Chalk dust, cornstarch? Like, I don't remember some of the things. I don't think we used chalk dust. I just said that. But trying to figure out what would look best, what had the right weight of falling down, what caught the light. You know what I mean? So it was a whole experiment. And then, so we decided on flour. So then I asked Chris Bantuso, our prop guy, I was like, could we try gluten-free flour? He's like, yeah, sure. Let me pick some up and see how it does. And sure enough, because every night I worked with my dear friend Dell, who I mentioned on Waitress again, we got to work together again. And she was noticing it too. Every night after a song called What Baking Can Do, which is where the character of Jenna throws the most flour, I'd come back off and I'd just be like coughing. I feel like I had this like loogie in my throat, and I needed to. And sure enough, when we changed to the gluten-free flour, I wasn't coughing as much. And so yeah, that was a challenge. That was a challenge because you had to throw it. Yeah. You had to throw it in such a way where there were just a lot of things at play. Let's just put it that way. It's like you wanted it to fall back on the table because you didn't want it to fall on the ground so someone could slip. Yeah. But you needed to be close enough to the table for the lights, but not too close that you were throwing it up and either getting it in your wig or getting it in your mouth while you were singing
I hope you have that. I hope you have that on your resume now. Like, under special
throwing,
skills.
like fire breathing, like flower.
Of every different kind. I love that.
Yeah, I can throw things, ingest them, and sing at the same time.
And sing at the same time. Then, of course, there's Julie Jordan in Carousel. You and I spoke about this in April, but what was it like sharing the stage with Josh Henry?
Oh, what a chore. He's one of those people that almost makes you mad because he's like, I think you asked him this question, like, is there something you're not good at, Josh? Yeah. I think he said water sports. But I was like, come on. Who says water sports? Yeah. It just makes you think of all the things he has tried. And he was like, yeah, I could rock that. No, he is such a kind, generous, grounded soul, loving soul, that to me, that was one of the biggest blessings about working on that show with him, because what we were doing, the relationship we were portraying, was not an easy relationship. The whole arc of the show is very complex, and I think he and I just kind of saw eye to eye on a lot of like bigger life things that made sense to our understanding of the broader scope of the show, and I think that was really a great place to start. And he's just like he's the cream of the crop. He really is. And on top of it, like, he's so beautiful and he has that voice. And as far as a leader too, I mean, I've got to work with some incredible people who have led companies, and man, he's just one of those people that comes in every day ready to go. And if he's not, like, you'd never know it. He does what he needs to do. He takes care of himself, and he he shows up. He shows up at 120% every night. And that is such a gift, you know?
It was such a glorious production, Carousel, from start to finish, everything about it, from the creative team and of course the cast, just beautiful. And to watch the two of you up there make magic was really, really special.
Thank you.
Something that fascinates me and marvels me the most about you is every character you take on in a musical, you give them a different sound. Like if you listen to every cast album you made, you sound not like Jessie Mueller, you sound like those people. And I was wondering, when you work on a character, do you create your character because of the music? Like Sarah's so different from, let's say, Rupert Holmes and Rods and Hammerstein is totally different. I mean, everything you do is different. When you're creating a character, does the music play a major part into how you're creating a character or a role?
Oh, totally. Because I think if it's well written, the music tells you so much about the character.
Yeah.
And to me, it's also finding a bridge between how the character sings and how the character speaks. So like for something like Waitress, it felt like there was less of a jump because it's pop music. There's a groundedness to the way I think that character lives and speaks, and so that I wanted there to be a groundedness in the way that she sang. Carousel felt like there needed to be more massaging between the two because it's a period piece, so I wouldn't think that the character speaks like I do, which is a lot of ums and likes. You know what I mean? It's also not in the text. Different time period, and then also the different education, and then also in the music, there's Annie Einhorn wanted a big sound, wanted a grand sound. We also knew we were getting to work with the amazing Renee Fleming, so we knew that there needed to be a meeting of those sounds somewhere, so everybody sounded like they were from the same world. So that felt like a stretch for me, in terms of feeling like I wasn't a different person when I was speaking as to when I was singing. But yeah, the music is extremely informative. And I guess I do just feel like every character sounds different because every character is different. And if there's something in their speech, if there's an accent, if there's a tibbedness, if there's a forthrightness, that comes through in the singing, or that can come through in the singing sound as well as the speaking sound. So yeah.
Beautiful. Well, you made your feature film debut in Steven Spielberg's The Post, where you played Judith Martin, who we know as Miss Manners. You have to tell me, what was it like working with Steven Spielberg?
I mean, dreamy, and also like, I'm so spoiled because I don't have a whole lot to compare it to. Yeah. As far as being on a movie set, but it was funny because the entire cast, I feel like, even people that had worked with him before, because I think he is very loyal. He likes to work with, if he likes working with someone, he'll bring them in on another project. But everybody was saying that they were pinching themselves all the time. They couldn't believe that we were here. We couldn't believe that we were getting to work on something that was so timely. Yeah. I mean, a piece about the freedom of the press and what is the truth, and is someone holding the truth back? Is someone in power holding the truth back? I mean, this is at the beginning of beginning-ish of the midpoint of the Trump administration, I would say, our current administration. And it was like, so it was the wildness of what was happening on set, and then you'd go on a break and you'd open your phone and be like, what has happened? And it was just strange. You'd work on the show, go on set and think like, oh, this is so far from where we've come. And then you realize in real life, it's sort of all happening again. But Steven Spielberg was he's so kind. He was so kind, very, very down to earth, and just calm as a cucumber. Yeah. He's done this a few times, so he knows what he wants. He knows the shots. He and his DP have a great relationship. So like, it's just so fun to watch them work. And I just was like at attention the whole time because I didn't want to miss anything, and slightly terrified inside and suffering from imposter syndrome. And like someone was going to find me out and be like, how did she get in here? But it kind of worked for my character too. Not that Judith Martin was timid, because she was not, but I think she was always sort of, because of the time and era, she was always fighting for her place in that world. And she's also just an incredible human being. I didn't get to meet her until after the project, but I have met her since, and she's so cool. Yeah. And it was, I mean, you could tell, I heard you say it and I was like, oh yeah, I got to do that. Like, yes, it makes me smile and feel so grateful.
What a great way to make your feature film debut with that incredible cast and Steven Spielberg. Yeah, really. Well, then you also got to play country music legend Loretta Lynn opposite Megan Hilty, who played Patsy Cline in Lifetime's Patsy and Loretta. Favorite memories of that? How much fun was that?
Oh my gosh. Again, Megan and I keep saying it. We're just eternally spoiled, because that was such, I don't think I've ever had a better time working on something. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a better time working on something. And it was also so challenging. I didn't feel like I had the tools going in. I didn't think I could do it. I just didn't think but I got to watch Megan on set every day, and I got to observe and be like, oh, that's how it's done. And that's how you do that. And that's how you show up. And that's how you, and Callie Corey, our director, was amazing and just so open and answered any questions that I have. And I didn't feel intimidated to ask them, because I didn't know. And I was like, well, I got to learn at some point. So this seems like a good environment to do that. And I mean, everybody from the top down, Neil Marin, our producer, I mean, he just set such a wonderful tone, and everybody cared so deeply about the project. I mean, everybody, the prop people, the hair and makeup people, everybody, so many people had sort of personal connections to the material. We got to shoot in Nashville for about 4 or 5 weeks. And I mean, that's like country music Mecca down there. So people's family members had either been like involved with the Opry or knew someone in Patsy's band or something. It was really cool. So there was that personal connection that just sort of was embedded in the project too. So we all knew the responsibility of what we were taking on, but it was this cool sort of preciousness to it. We knew we had to handle it with care.
Well, you were both sensational in that. Seriously, it's such a beautifully done film.
Thank you.
So really great. One of my final questions for you is, I know you use your talents and your celebrity to raise awareness for various causes. I was looking at the list of the charities that you participated. It's amazing. I mean, the charities you offer your services for, which is so needed today. Why is activism and philanthropy so important to you, specifically now?
Well, we need it more than ever, because I feel like if there's anything we're supposed to learn, it's that this selfishness that has pervaded our world, our consciousness is not serving anyone. It's not serving ourselves. It's not serving our communities. We are all here together. We're on, in my perspective, we're on borrowed time. We're renting here on Earth. Yeah. And we are all going through life in very different ways, with sort of starting at various stages in the race. You know what I mean? On the track, some people are 3 feet ahead, some people are 6 feet behind, some people, you know what I mean? And I feel like we're learning even more about that now, about certain privileges that white Caucasians have been afforded for so long, and things that our Black brothers and sisters and people of color and Indigenous people have privileges that they have not held. And I think it's time to acknowledge that. If there's anything we can do, especially as white people and allies, maybe is at least to begin to acknowledge it and learn. And so I actually I have to say, Richard, it's like, I've always struggled with having a platform. Do I have a platform? Why do I have a platform if I do? and it doesn't make a whole, I struggle with how much does the world need to hear from me. Everybody has a story and has a voice, but right now I think it is vitally important that we start to make room for people that haven't been in the forefront. So that is also why I feel like advocacy is extremely important right now. You know, whether it's, I'm really big into arts education. Rosie's Theater Kids has been an organization that I've been following and supporting and just cheerleading for a long, long time, because it uses the arts to teach kids, no matter where they come from or what opportunities they've been afforded so far, that they can stand up and they can own their voice and own their experience and take up space and also be a part of something bigger. That organization teaches community, teaches advocacy for each other. The Broadway Arts Coalition is doing Broadway Advocacy. Take that again. The Broadway Advocacy Coalition is doing amazing things right now. Even just in the past month, they've held forums for people in the arts and theater to have an open, safe space to begin to have some uncomfortable conversations about race and privilege and how the theater community is built, how commercial theater is built. We're supposed to help each other. We're supposed to serve each other. Why else are we all here together?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me not to serve. I have been gifted so much. I have been given so much. It only makes sense to give back. And I just feel, and I'm feeling more and more that's maybe where I'm needed more. Maybe I'm needed less on stage, and I'm needed, I'm just trying to find new ways that I can serve. Even as a performer, that's always how I've felt more comfortable, is feeling like I'm in service of something. So continuing to find ways to be of service is really important to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for always doing that. And you always give back. I think it's amazing. Like I said, thank you for that. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch Jessie Mueller tomorrow, Sunday, June 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and a repeat on Monday, June 22nd at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when she joins Seth Rudetsky for his concert and conversation series, the virtual Seth Concert Series, with her paper dolls cut out, which I can't wait for. Now, I'm kidding. I cannot wait to see what happens.
Paper doll outfits. Now I really got to get going on it.
No,
but you can wear whatever you want. If you come in, this is the beauty of it, y'all. You don't have to put on pants. No mascara required. It's Father's Day. Invite your dad. Yes, all dads welcome. And show up in your best loungewear and we'll have a great time.
Well, I love it. Tickets are $25. You can get them at www.thesethconcertseries.com. Thank you for spending this hour with me. You know I fell in love with you at the St. James Theater in Clear Day many moons ago, just so you know that, Jessie.
Well, thank you for being who you are and always being such a positive person that points out the light in what we do and not always just like the razzmatazz, like that there is bigger, deeper stuff going on. So thank you for always acknowledging that and bringing that to the forefront.
Well, I adore you. And we're going to close out with a clip of you doing Natural Woman from Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy.